Jake adjusted his glasses and froze, hearing a piercing shriek. The sound grated on his nerves like a knife on glass. He turned and saw, about 100 meters away, at the edge of the reeds, 3 spotted hyenas surrounding a tiny lion cub, no older than 3 months. Its golden fur was covered in mud, and its paws trembled as it tried to retreat towards the water. The hyenas snapped their jaws, their cackling laughter echoing across the swamps. Jake knew the cub had no chance. The hyenas would tear it apart in a matter of seconds. "Where the hell is its mother?" he muttered, feeling his heart pound in his chest. His mind screamed, "Don't interfere! This is nature! You're a scientist, not a rescuer." But the cub shrieked again, and that sound pierced a hole in his professional armor. Jake grabbed his noise grenade launcher, a device he used to scare away predators during his research, and, without giving himself time to reconsider, rushed towards the reeds. He ran, ignoring the squelching water under his boots and the sharp reed stalks scratching his hands. "Hey, get out of here!" he yelled, aiming the launcher at the hyenas. A loud bang ripped through the air, and the hyenas shrieked and recoiled, but one of them, the largest, bared its teeth and took a step forward. Jake fired once more, and a flash of light made the predator scatter, leaving the cub alone. The little one trembled, pressed to the ground, its large eyes gleaming with fear. Jake knelt down a few meters away, trying not to startle it. "Easy there, little one. I'm not an enemy," he whispered, though he knew his words meant nothing to a wild animal. But then a low growl emanated from the reeds, making Jake's hair stand on end. He slowly looked up and saw 5 adult lions emerging from the reeds, 3 lionesses, a male with a dark mane, and another, clearly the cub's mother, with tense muscles and burning eyes. They moved slowly, their gazes fixed on Jake. His hand froze on the grenade launcher, but he knew it was useless against a pride. "Well, this is it," he thought with bitter irony. "Save the cub only to become dinner for its family. Great job, Jake." The mother lioness, with powerful shoulders and a scar on her muzzle, took a step towards the cub, which immediately pressed against her paws, letting out a faint meow. Jake didn't move, feeling sweat trickle down his temple. The pride surrounded him in a semicircle, their breathing audible in the silence. He waited for an attack, but the lions just stared. Their gazes weren't threatening, but scrutinizing? Jake wasn't sure, but in the mother's eyes, he noticed something he hadn't expected, not fury, but curiosity. This is just the beginning. How will the pride react? Don't miss it. The night in the Okavango Delta was alive. Cicadas chirped, a hippopotamus roared somewhere in the distance, and a faint breeze carried the scent of dampness. Jake sat by his tent, illuminated by the dim light of a lantern, writing in his journal, 1740, 3 cub rescue, 3 hyenas. Pride of 5 observed. His hand trembled as he wrote, and his glasses slipped down his nose again. He still couldn't believe he had emerged alive from the encounter with the pride. But something about the lions' behavior troubled him. Why hadn't they attacked? He had seen enough documentaries to know lions don't like it when humans interfere in their affairs. Jake decided to continue observing the pride the next morning, but his thoughts were interrupted by a rustle in the reeds. He looked up and noticed movement. The mother lioness, the one with the scar on her muzzle, stood 30 meters away, her eyes reflecting the lantern light. "Are you serious?" he muttered, feeling fear clench his chest. "I just saved your cub." The lioness didn't move. She just watched, then lay down on the ground, as if showing she had no intention of attacking. Jake exhaled, but his pulse didn't slow. He knew lions could be unpredictable, and yet something about her behavior seemed deliberate. The next day, he continued his work, setting up camera traps along the pride's trails. The lioness reappeared again and again, always keeping her distance, but following him like a shadow. Her presence was unnerving, but Jake noticed she showed no aggression. "If you're going to eat me, at least do it quickly," he joked to himself, trying to ease the tension. He even started calling her Scar, not very original, but fitting. By evening, Jake decided to conduct a night shoot, using a thermal camera to capture the pride's behavior in the dark. He set up the equipment 2 kilometers from camp, in the thicket where the pride rested during the day. The moon illuminated the swamps, and the air was cool. But as soon as he turned on the camera, he heard a low growl, not a lion's, but sharper, guttural, a leopard. Jake froze, his flashlight illuminating a spotted shadow gliding through the reeds. The leopard was large, its eyes gleaming like 2 green lanterns. Jake knew he had no chance against such a predator. His grenade launcher was back at camp, and the vehicle was too far away. He slowly retreated, but the leopard crept closer, its claws clinging to the ground. "This is it," Jake thought, feeling panic constrict his throat. 8 months in the savannah, and I'm going to be dinner for a cat. But then another sound came from the darkness, a deep, vibrating roar. Scar, the lioness, emerged from the reeds, her massive figure shielding Jake from the leopard. She didn't attack, but simply stood, staring at the predator, her ears flattened, and her tail nervously flicking from side to side. Jake noticed the cub, the very one he had saved, peeking out from behind her paws, as if observing the scene. The climax is near. What the lioness does will shock you. The leopard froze, assessing Scar. Jake stood motionless, his heart pounding so loudly he feared every predator within 1 kilometer would hear it. The lioness let out another growl, and then the other members of the pride emerged from the thicket, 3 lionesses and the male with the dark mane. They surrounded Jake, their bodies forming a living wall between him and the leopard. This was not an attack, it was protection. The leopard, realizing it had no chance, let out an annoyed hiss and disappeared into the darkness. Jake collapsed to his knees, his breathing ragged. "Are you serious?" he muttered, looking at Scar. "I saved your cub, and now you're saving me? Is this some kind of savannah contract?" The lioness looked at him, her eyes calm, but with a strange awareness in them. She let out a soft chuff, a sound lions use for communication within the pride. The other lions relaxed. Some lay down on the ground, as if showing the threat had passed. The next morning, Jake returned to camp, still processing the night's events. His thermal camera had recorded the entire episode from the leopard's appearance to the pride's protective reaction. But what happened next was even more incredible. At noon, as Jake was dismantling equipment by his tent, he heard a familiar meow. Scar appeared at the clearing's edge, and beside her trotted the cub. The lioness stopped 10 meters away, lay down on the grass, and gently nudged the cub forward. The cub, gathering courage, approached Jake and nuzzled his hand. Jake froze, afraid to move. "Did you come to say thank you?" he whispered, feeling a lump rise in his throat. He cautiously extended his hand and stroked the cub's head. Scar watched, showing not the slightest sign of aggression. This was a moment that contradicted everything Jake knew about lions. He turned on his action camera, which automatically recorded the scene, and captured the cub purring and rubbing against his leg, while Scar let out a contented chuff. The rest of the pride watched from a distance, their relaxed postures indicating complete trust. Jake's video, uploaded online, went viral in a matter of hours. Millions of views, thousands of comments, people around the world were stunned. Dr. Elizabeth King, an expert in predator behavior, called it one of the most striking examples of interspecies trust in history. The lions didn't just accept Jake, she wrote in her report. They recognized him as part of their social structure, which challenges our understanding of big cats' cognitive abilities. Jake used the video's popularity to establish the Okavango Foundation for the protection of lions from predators and poachers. Over the next months, he frequently encountered Scar and her pride during his research. Each time, the lioness greeted him with a soft chuff, and the cub, now grown, joyfully ran towards his jeep. Local guides began calling Jake the Pride Man, and his story became a legend in the Delta. But for Jake, the most important thing wasn't the recognition, but that moment when the tiny cub looked at him with gratitude. "I thought I was saving him," he said in an interview, "but it turned out they saved me."